The early settlers of America lived in a time when food was more than just sustenance. It was a symbol of survival, community, and innovation. Imagine yourself in a colonial kitchen. The aroma of fresh bread baking over an open hearth, mingling with the rich scent of stewed meats and seasonal vegetables. The story of colonial food is one of resilience, resourcefulness, and the melding of cultures that shaped the American culinary identity. The foundation of colonial diets. In the 1600s and 1700s, colonial diets were deeply influenced by geography, climate, and necessity. Early settlers depended on local resources, native crops, and the knowledge shared by indigenous peoples. Maize corn, a gift of Native American agricultural wisdom, became a cornerstone of colonial meals. It was used in various forms, from bread to porridge, providing essential nutrients to sustain the settlers through harsh winters. A striking example of this ingenuity is the story of Thanksgiving, celebrated by the Pilgrims and the Wampanoag in 1621. The Wampanoag taught the Pilgrims to cultivate corn and introduced them to native foods like squash, beans, and cranberries. This shared knowledge not only ensured the survival of the colonists, but also created traditions that persist to this day. Staples of the colonial table. Colonial meals were simple but hearty. Meat, bread, and vegetables formed the backbone of their diet, while spices and sweeteners were luxuries reserved for the wealthy. Let's take a closer look at the staples. 1. Corn. Corn was versatile and accessible. Colonists turned it into cornbread, mush, a type of porridge, and johnny cakes. A popular dish was hasty pudding, a thick cornmeal porridge sweetened with molasses or honey. 2. Bread. Wheat was scarce in some colonies, so settlers often relied on rye, barley, or a mix of grains to make bread. A common recipe was for brown bread, steamed rather than baked, which paired well with stews. 3. Meat and fish. Protein came from hunting, fishing, and livestock. Deer, rabbits, and wild turkey were commonly hunted, while coastal communities feasted on fish, oysters, and clams. A colonial favorite was salt pork, which preserved well in flavored soups and stews. 4. Vegetables and fruits. Root vegetables like turnips, carrots, and onions were common. Pumpkins and squash, introduced by Native Americans, became essential ingredients in pies and soups. Apples, often made into cider or dried for storage, were a treasured crop. The role of hearth cooking. The hearth was the heart of the colonial home, where families gathered to cook, eat, and share stories. Cooking was labor-intensive, requiring skill and patience. Iron pots hung over open flames, and heavy ovens baked bread and pies. Recipes weren't written with the precision we know today. A colonial cookbook might instruct, take flour, water, and salt, and make a paste, leaving much to the cook's discretion. This flexibility allowed for regional adaptations based on available ingredients. One enduring recipe from this era is Indian pudding, a slow-cooked dessert made with cornmeal, milk, and molasses. It reflects the blending of Native American and English culinary traditions, a true testament to the cultural exchange that defined colonial life. The influence of immigrants and trade. As colonies grew, so did their diversity. Immigrants from Europe brought their culinary traditions, introducing foods like sauerkraut, pretzels, and hearty stews. African slaves brought knowledge of okra, yams, and rice, which deeply influenced Southern cuisine. Global trade also played a crucial role. Spices from the Caribbean, sugar from plantations, and tea from Asia found their way to colonial tables, albeit sparingly due to their cost. The famed Boston Tea Party of 1773 highlights the importance of these goods in colonial life, as tea became a symbol of both luxury and resistance. Community and celebration. Food wasn't just for survival. It was central to community gatherings and celebrations. Harvest festivals, barn raisings, and religious holidays brought people together to share meals and strengthen bonds. One heartwarming example is the story of early barn-raising dinners in Pennsylvania. After a day of hard labor building a neighbor's barn, the community would sit down to a feast of roasted meats, pies, and homemade cider, a tradition of mutual support that still resonates today. Modern adaptations. Many colonial recipes have stood the test of time, with slight modernizations to suit contemporary tastes and conveniences. For example, Jonna cakes are now made with refined cornmeal and often served with butter and syrup. Apple cider has evolved into artisanal hard ciders and spiced beverages enjoyed in the fall. Stews remain a comfort food, linking us to the one-pot meals of the past. Cooking a slice of history. If you're inspired to try a colonial recipe, start with the simple version of Indian pudding. Ingredients: 4 cups milk, half a cup cornmeal, half a cup molasses, a quarter cup sugar, 1 teaspoon cinnamon, half a teaspoon nutmeg, a quarter teaspoon salt, 2 tablespoons butter. Instructions: 1. Preheat your oven to 325 degrees Fahrenheit, 165 degrees Celsius. 2. Heat 3 cups of milk in a saucepan until warm. Gradually whisk in the cornmeal and cook over low heat until thickened. 3. Remove from heat and stir in molasses, sugar, spices, and salt. 4. Add the butter and mix until melted. 5. Pour the mixture into a buttered baking dish. Add the remaining cup of cold milk, but do not stir. 6. Bake for 1.5 to 2 hours until the pudding is set and golden brown. Serve warm, ideally with a dollop of whipped cream or a scoop of vanilla ice cream. Conclusion: the food of early Americans tells a story of survival, adaptability, and community. It reminds us of the simple joys of sharing a meal and the rich tapestry of cultures that influence our plates today. By exploring colonial recipes, we connect with our past and honor the resourcefulness and creativity of those who came before us. So the next time you sit down to enjoy a hearty stew or a slice of apple pie, take a moment to appreciate the enduring legacy of colonial food, a delicious reminder of where we've been and how far we've come.